Did it record? Yeah, it recorded. So hi everybody. We've got some exciting things coming up. I'll probably go live in the brand partner group tomorrow talking about things that are coming in Canada. We won't touch on that tonight because John's got something real good for us. But we just wanted to go. John, did you want to go over that spreadsheet we talked about? Or did you want me
Uh,
to do that?
you can.
I'm good
Did you
either
add
way.
your people to it?
I did.
Then you should probably go over it.
All right. We had an awesome last week, and that's what oh, I opened the wrong thing though. We had an awesome last week, so we were looking through some numbers, and just want to shout out some people. Alicia hit silver, and Jim hit brand builder. I could have made a fun little graphic, but we thought this would be funner. And Dana, it has 3 enrollments just for the last week of October. I was gonna say November. And Alicia and Jim have 3, and Janice with 2. Caitlin with 1. Melody Somerville. Everybody else has 1 from here on out. I'm just going to say the names. And Shaylin, who may be traveling today. I don't know if she's on here or not. Yeah, Shaylin might still be traveling. Um, Kayla Lansbury, Kendra Fortin, Crystal Saunier, Jackie Polk, Maria Volport, Sarah Briscoe, and Olivia. I know you're on here. Jessica Gibson, Erica, and I can't pronounce her last name. I'm so sorry, Erica, and Rachel Grenfell has all had 1 enrollment. It's all this just in the last week of October. So very cool. All right. So now John's got something extra special for us today, which I'm excited to hear because I think it's going to give us a lot of direction and where we need to go and how we're going to get there.
It won't let me screen share.
Oh, I'll make you host. Sorry.
I took the time to make something this time.
Okay, you're host now. If it doesn't work, I might be able to share it. Hi, Megan. Hi, Heidi. And Gloria's here, hiding in the dark.
Let's see. Oops, I don't want that though.
Did you guys check out Jill's swag yet? While we're waiting for that. I'm obsessed with it. Except don't get this one if you have a black-haired dog.
All right,
Yeah,
does that show?
it's loading.
And there's some screens. Oh, Chrome's crashing.
Yeah, we got it now. You might want notebooks for this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say bring a pen and paper, but I was trying to keep it a surprise. So we had something fun.
So everybody can see this screen then?
That's right. We can see it.
Okay. I had to cover that one up so I could see everything else, but um so we kind of have been talking in the background about helping getting people through some of their issues and some of the problems they've been having. And if you see me looking left, everybody's over here, everything else is over here. So it's kind of, that helps or not, but if that bugs people or not, but it is what it is. So, but we were talking about what's kind of been some of the hangups. I believe we put a poll out there too. A lot of people said that time management was their biggest issue, as well as having some motivational issues with that. So we kind of I put a quick framework together based off of a book for the 12-week year is the book. Um, if any of this resonates with you, I highly recommend going to get it and do a deeper dive into it. Um, this would be kind of a very high level overview of it. More so from my takeaways of it than what the actual book is. So you pick up a lot from here, but it'll give you a sense to whether you want to do some more research and on your own and go pick up that book. So kind of the bigger question too is if everybody wants to throw in the chat, what fuels your motivation? Edge. Nice. I don't have edge, but I have my non-flat water for those who understand that one. Let's see, we have success of others, connection, seeing others not having money, needing money. Okay, so that kind of shows me a little bit here, but yes, Bethany is the only one I know to call it flat water, which I also do have here, my flat water. So kind of what we're going to run through here at a very high level are the three core concepts or three core principles to building a 12-week year, the 5 disciplines from that, some of the pitfalls, what a SMART goal is. That's an acronym for something. We'll talk about some momentum a little bit, and then we'll show you how to actually execute the system. And there's a little bit of a bonus model for you guys to pick what you want to take from and maybe add a suggestion in there to what you're already doing based on where I feel a lot of you are struggling with your time at the moment. So that being said, a lot of everybody does a 12-week goal, right? Or not a 12-week goal, a 12-month, 1-year goal, and we lose all of our momentum from it. The problem with the year-long goals is they give us room to slack because there's plenty of time. Everybody here, I'm pretty sure I've talked to at one point, has had some big goals. And as they get closer and closer, nobody's really implemented them, like say trip points or some stuff like that, maybe. But the truth is, this system, when we shift the idea to a 12-week system or a quarterly system, instead of having to plan your whole year, you think of short sprints instead of running a giant marathon. So we'll set goals. It gives you a short period of time to execute. So you have to stay motivated. You have to constantly be running because your weeks will go by quickly. Then you'll get to, as we're going through it, you'll review what works, and you have when you're reviewing stuff, that gives you the option to adjust quickly and change what you need to do. And then you can repeat that following framework year after year, period after period, so that we can complete 4 years worth of goals in 1 year, right? That's kind of condensing everything so that we go short and sweet. You stay motivated, we stay fast moving, we adjust as we need to quickly. And it really helps eliminate the procrastination factor from it. So that kind of being said, one of the quotes from the book that's really resonated with me a lot, and I've talked to some people about it, but not really in these words, is the quote here: "A vision without execution is just a dream." Uh-oh. So that gets us talking to about visions, right? The other question I ask a lot of you when I talk to you is, what is your vision? Where do you see yourself going, right? Most of you don't have that strong vision or a North Star to help project you and drive you forward in the moments where you are lacking motivation or feeling the frustrations of everything else of life in general as it happens. So a good quote that comes to me too that I keep on my desk here is clarity and personal vision fuels motivation, right? So if I have a day where I'm not motivated, I will pull out where my big year-end plan, not year-end plan, but my big goal is, and I will look at that and I will go back and start working through that. And that starts my motivation to um to get what I need to go through. So having that big North Star helps me with my clarity and make sure when I'm unmotivated, again, I can look at that and go, okay, this is why I'm doing it, right? Um, and a lot of people don't have that because um, the world's kind of beat them. Here, hang on one second, please. Sorry, even headphones can't cancel out World War III down there. Um, so where I was going is when you think about it, your vision, and you look back to as you were a child and you had all of these big dreams of things you wanted to be, right? You wanted to be a doctor, you wanted to be baseball players, you wanted to be whatever came to your mind at that moment because you didn't have the rest of everybody else beating you down and making you say, oh, you got to go work to pay your rent. You got to go do all this. You didn't understand all of these, what do you want to call it, life situations that you grow into. And we kind of lose that ability to dream. So without having those big dreams and creative spaces to figure out what you really want to do with your life, it's tough to get that vision built, right? So um, my vision is fueled by where I want to go, what I want to leave, what I want to do. My businesses, they're just tools to help me achieve them, right? So my businesses aren't related to all of that stuff. That stuff is just the aftermath, the tool, the resource I use to get me there. Whoop, wrong button. No. So um there we go. Okay. So again, we're looking at focusing our big goals into 12-week sprints, right? Um, this will encourage us to intense focus on a short period of time on one or two objects, not the big end goals. This is just short steps to get you where you want to go. It forces massive urgencies. In the system, you'll break your year into 4 12-week periods, each one demanding results now, not next month, not next quarter, right? So this urgency that we're going to create with this is what's going to drive you to make your differences. Now the 12-week year, the main framework, it comes down into the 3 core principles, as we said, right? There's accountability, commitment, greatness of the moment. The truth is no one really cares about the goals, your goals, more than you do, right? This process will only work if you're brutally honest with yourself about where you're slipping and where you're succeeding. Ownership over excuses every time is what is needed. So there's no room to blame outside influences. I had a bad day. I had this. You have all of these set frames and you have short periods of time. Otherwise, you have to figure out how to make them up. So accepting ownership of the situation in your life, because most things that happen are a result from your decisions. The commitment is putting lots of effort into keeping the promises you made to yourself, prioritizing your duties, and overcoming laziness and reluctancy. So again, we're back to self-awareness. This is for you to keep yourself on track. Greatness in the moment is not necessarily the end goal, but it's the process of achieving it. Realizing committing to one particular thing is an act of greatness in itself. So you can take it and say an act of greatness is just committing to this framework and completing it, right? Again, it goes back to yearly goals give us too much time to procrastinate. This process forces us to have short-term thinking with urgency, and it demands results now.
And there's a shard of glass in your hand. I don't know how to get it out. Tweezers?
Probably. Do you need my help? Okay, I gotta go get glass out of a finger real quick. Can you ad lib here for a minute, Nicole?
We'll just talk smack while we're done. No, I'm just kidding. I'm actually really enjoying this. Anybody can pipe in if they want, but I always lose sight of the year-long things. Like I'll make it on a whole vision board and it'll be in the back of my mind, but I'm not like actively thinking about it because it just seems like I don't know. I don't know what it feels like, but I really like this so far. Like I
I
feel
made a goal with JON at convention, which was in July, to have silver by my birthday, which is November.
when's your
But
birthday in November?
20th.
That's
But
Andrew's
I
birthday.
oh, but I think it was too far away because I kept
Mhm.
thinking, just like you said, I kept thinking in my head, I have time, I have time, I have time. And then life got busy. So I was like, well, I'm gonna put that on the back burner because like the season of life is so busy. Like, and so now guess what? It's November 3rd.
We always say in our house, like the stupid saying, and it's like, how do you eat an elephant? And it's you take one bite at a time. And I know it doesn't make sense because you've never eaten an elephant. I don't really know where it came from, but we always say that. And it just, I don't know, it makes things so much more attainable, I guess. Like I guess that what I'm thinking of in terms of like my goal, maybe not rank specific. It might be like actionable steps, like talk to 20 people this week or something like that. You know what I mean? What's Gloria? What'd you say here, Gloria? We we've already hit silver. We just need to do the work. Yes, absolutely. Um,
I was gonna say, if I can chime in real quick,
yes,
it's
absolutely.
kind of like the 490, like putting a date on it and doing the is it 70 days?
Yep.
So it's close to, which yeah, I like doing that consistently, even if I keep not hitting it. I'm closer to it now, and I think when you write it down every day, it really does help. Like, just keep it in my head, kind of thing. I don't know.
I actually restarted the 490 a while ago, and I agree with you because I'm like writing it down and I'm thinking about it every day. I'm like, well, frig, if this is my goal, I better do something to like make that happen. And then if I don't do my 490 that day, and it's kind of like a double-edged sword. But if I do it, I like feel super motivated. I'm like, okay, now I got to do something to make sure that happens. And I think that's what he
Exactly.
was. What was he say? Oh, I wish I could flip back to the other slide. It was like clarity. Oh, I did write down clarity and personal vision fuels motivation, and that's what like the 490 is to me. Just keeps me focused. How many days is 12? What is 12 weeks? Does anybody have some? Oh, that's not the thing. Does anybody have some ideas of what they want to see themselves in 12 times? So it's 84 days away. I'm trying to like actually see when this is so we can start talking about what we want. 84. I keep typing my keyboard even though it's for my computer. What's the date? January 26th. What do we think? Any ideas? And if you, what I'm learning for me, I know like a lot of people, we all pick ranks and stuff, and I'm not saying it's wrong. You can totally do it. Um, I just, for me, it's easier to look to make actionable steps my goal because I usually feel overwhelmed by a rank. So like I know silver is roughly, oh no, bronze, I think is like 30 orders or something like that. So if I wanted to enroll, say 10 people to get to bronze, my goal would be have like 50 conversations or something like that. Does that make sense? Silver's 50. Thank you, Olivia. Yeah, I feel like it is too. I don't think maybe not. Replacement income, which would be gold, I believe. That's amazing. And I've been bronze for months, so I'm ready to rank up. So I don't know if you guys want to try the way I do it, it helps me a lot more is like making the actionable steps my goal, or at least part of it.
Get the star out. You think you can get it out of the box carefully? That means not ruining the box.
You can't get the silver without brand builders. That's right. So you need two brand builders for silver.
If I'm
A lot
using
of
a towel, is it towel I need to throw away
it
after?
sounds like a nightmare at their house right now. Oh, look, Olivia's coming up with a thing. And I will say, I know this is a little off topic, but just because you asked, like a lot of people do one brand partner, they stack another brand partner and they build under that brand partner. So you get two brand builders at the same time. Do with that what you will. And the accountability piece, that's where I absolutely always need support. I don't know about anybody else, but I think that's why I like the idea yesterday. You guys probably saw me in the chat talking like when you get enrollments, I want people to put that boom emoji because it's like an accountability piece too, and then everybody gets to congratulate you. But a couple of the girls were saying that they did that and everybody gets really excited about it. So I'm like half listening to what's going on back here. Poor Bethany. Oh dear. Actually, you know what? I have the rest of this. Hold on a second. Hold on. I don't know if anybody caught my speech, but my business mentor that I showed it out was actually John. I didn't tell him that though. I should probably tell him. But he's got some key disciplines on here, and part of the vision is to set the clear long-term vision, and then create actionable 12-week targets. I'm wondering if he's going to tell us to do that every single week because I think that would be really cool if Sunday, if we came on the call and like we're accountable with each other to see what we accomplished in our action steps. And then the clear long-term vision. I think that's really important. I think that's where I get lost when I actually talk about rank. Like when I say my goal is just to be, diamond, it just doesn't feel like there's anything behind that. So I don't feel like, in my opinion, now for some people, they just literally want to be a certain rank and that's fine. But I don't feel like that's a clear enough vision for what I want. Like I'm more about specific dollar signs, enrollment signs, having specific numbers of brand partners and stuff like that, which all equals the same thing. It just, to me, when people say diamond, I'm not like thinking about all that stuff, right? And then the planning, I was on a call with Josh Coates this week and I got in trouble because I'm still not time blocking, even though I've literally paid multiple coaches thousands of dollars. And they've all told me to time block. And do you think I've freaking done that yet? I'll do it for like a week and then I don't. So, do you know what I did? I wrote out a list of things I need to do every single week. Sorry, it's blurry. And then I put it in an agenda for a week. And let's see how I do. I'll do great this week. It's the next week I'm concerned about, but I'm going to keep trying because I'm really hopeful that I'll get it at some point. Um, but I think that's part of the planning thing. I don't think we time block, and then Amari gets pushed into this back burner of the day. We just stuff it in the corner of the day because we're like, yeah, I'll get to it when I get time. Because I know for me, I can be occupied with driving the kids to school. I can be occupied with coming home and cleaning, getting something situated for supper, doing exercise or yoga, playing with the dog. And then I'm like, oh my God, it's 12 o'clock already. I have to get the kids soon. And like, that's how quick a day goes by. So with the time blocking, like that's the crucial part. And Tracy Ashford was saying this weekend, she came to our hotel room and she said, like, especially for busy moms or like working individuals, set like a 15-minute timer because when you're intentional with your work and you get 15 minutes done, you can actually accomplish a lot. And let me know when you know the difference between busy work and intentional work. Because when you do busy work, your brain's like frazzled and you're like trying to find the right audio and you're trying to find the right video and you're spinning around in circles. I get like that sometimes. I learned though to go take a kid's mood, go take a deep breath, go sit on the couch if I need to for a little bit, and then come back and do intentional work. It sounds like a warfare going on over there. And so process control is another part he talks about, which is part of the key disciplines. Use tools to track daily actions and outcomes effectively. So that's why I have this. This is like the agenda with the 15-minute blocks. I think that's probably I do like to write stuff down, so I think it's gonna be important where I can keep it right in front of my face. And yeah, just checking in and time blocking. Right. He has measurement. Oh, I was like, wait, are these the SMART goals? But no, maybe not. Tracking progress weekly and adjust as needed. Like maybe we can talk to John about jumping on this call every week and just checking in to see where our progress is. And that way we can tweak it as we go, which I think is important because I have a hard time facing my wrongdoings. Like I don't like being wrong. So it's hard for me to like do it for myself. So when I have accountability and someone's like, should you change that? I'm like, yes. I don't want to own up that to myself though. So I struggle there. Um, and then use of time. So I think we've already covered this with the busy work versus intentional work. Um, that was the other thing on Josh Coates' call that he went over just on Thursday, that you can tell now that you know the difference between them, pay attention to what you're doing. If you're feeling frazzled and can't find an audio, can't find this, and you're just like, oh, I got to message this person, but then you get sidetracked. That's busy work. And he said it is just so much better to just go take some time, sit on the couch, watch Netflix, go for a walk, whatever you got to do, and then come back because you can do 10 to 15 minutes of intentional time and be more effective than 2 hours in busy work. What's going on? I need to do this and stay focused. Everything comes to be that I want to post, and I'm like, I know, Mandy. I totally understand. I went to make a reel earlier, and I was doing that busy brain thing, and so I just like, hey, I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna come right back to this. So that's on my job tonight. It's just like we have to come back, and I think that's where we get frazzled, and we just don't come back because we're like, it's like that feeling of failure, but it's only failing because we're not going back to it. If we go back, it's not failing. Time blocking like that 15 minutes just because when I started with Amari, the bathroom was the only spot I could get private time from the kids. And I would walk in the bathroom, I would set a 10 to 15-minute timer, and I would be like, okay, this block is just going to be all about messaging people. And I would just sit there, like not even using the bathroom, which is funny because the kids all thought I have digestive issues, even though I was just working with Amari. phone. And I'd be messaging everybody. And then when that timer's up, I literally put my phone down and people message me back. I just couldn't get back to them until later, but at least they got the message or the card or whatever they needed to get my best work on it. Most of us do. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? But yeah, it's that intentional time. And if you get a chance in the next day or two to actually set a timer and do that, it feels different, and take note of how you feel and how the energy is behind your work, and it's big changes. So staying motivated, we all know how fun that one is. So we don't really need to switch our brains and to start celebrating all the wins. And I think that's a huge downfall in most areas of our lives, where 10 things could go right, but if one thing goes wrong, we're a failure. I know for example, comments, we've all posted before. Sometimes you've had things, get more than a couple comments, and you have 9 nice comments and you have 1 negative comment. And which one's your brain focusing on? We focus on that negative one. It's just what we're trained to do. So we need to start rewiring things, start celebrating even teeny tiny small wins. So if you make a post in your social media, that's a huge win. If you came on this call tonight, that's a huge win. And we have to start celebrating that way. Like, we would completely beat ourselves up if we missed a call, but we don't think anything positive when we actually come to the call. It's just so strange. So we need to start switching that. Like, but Dana, who was it? Was that Brandon Barber that made us do that? Make us pat ourselves on the back. Do you
I can't
remember that,
remember.
Coach? I think it was Brandon Barber. He's like, everybody pat yourself on the back right now.
Probably, yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right.
So like, just literally, I don't know, do it. It's kind of fun. Why not? Yeah, so be adaptable with regular check-ins. Again, we can utilize these calls or the chats um, to just check in and see how we're making it with our 12-week framework, 12-week year framework. I'm really liking this. I think this is so much smarter than a whole year. So I think Ed Milet, what did he say? He breaks his time up somehow. Oh, 6-hour days. That's what Ed Milet does, doesn't he? Did anyone hear that podcast? So he has 4 days in a 24-hour period because he breaks his days up in like 6 hours. I gotta go listen to that podcast again. That was really good. I completely forgot about that until it literally crossed my brain. John should have muted. So funny. Okay, I'm gonna find you guys that podcast when I'm done. I think you'll really like it. 6-hour days.
Hey, Nicole, can I share a small tip?
Yes, please.
Something that I've done with brain injury because I can't work in long periods. I actually downloaded a Pomodoro timer. There's lots of different apps, and I had one where I could set it the way I needed it. So a lot of times you work 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. You can do 4 cycles of that and then take a long, like, half-hour break or 45-minute break and then go into it again. But it was great for me because I was able to set it for 10 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Then I was able to also see my progress in, now I can work 30 minutes and take a 5-minute break. And they do suggest not working any longer than 25 to 30 minutes at a time, just because your brain needs that break to be able to still have that intentional and focused work.
Yeah, will you type that in the chat for us or send us the link or something? That's really cool. I think that would be really beneficial. It sounds kind of like a challenge. I'm very competitive, so things like that to me are really, really fun. And so when we lose motivation, breaking targets into smaller, achievable steps, we get those dopamine hits, right? So if your goal was to hit silver, but you still need 20 to 30 orders, that feels really overwhelming. But if you have, your goal isn't for 90 more days, that's only 1 order every 3 days, right? So it feels a lot less overwhelming if we were like, yeah, this week I need to get 2 orders rather than saying we need 50 orders in 90 days or, whatever the numbers are. It feels a lot better. Now, when Bethany and I were running for rank, back in a couple Novembers ago, we would divide it up. I think we had like, I don't know, for easy math, I'm going to say 1,000 OV left. I don't know what it actually was. And so we divided it by 100, which gave us 10 happy juice packs. And so instead of saying we need 1,000 OV, it felt a lot better to be like, oh yeah, we just need 10 happy juice packs. We just need 10 happy juice packs. And so it gave us more motivation when we thought about it that way. Welcome back. We listened to the circus. I was kind of touching on page 8, but I don't know if you had any notes that I might have forego.
Page 8.
Yeah, we just talked about staying motivated, celebrating all the wins, regular check-ins, and then breaking our targets into small, achievable steps. Oh, I see you on here.
Say what?
I can see you moving it on the screen.
But I'm still sharing my screen too, right?
No, on my iPad.
Oh, okay.
Just ignore me.
Okay. All right. So you went through some of the motivation loss stuff then?
Yeah.
Okay. Kids in snow globes, nothing but fun times.
She knew you were going to be mad that she dug out the decorations.
Yeah. Well, it's not even Thanksgiving yet. That's a whole different topic. So some of the common pitfalls we have with this kind of process and all that is it's pretty easy to feel overwhelmed right off the bat because it's kind of a different way of thinking. It's a lot of stuff up front. And it takes a little bit of trust in the system to get it running. So that overwhelming feeling, if you focus on what your actual targets are, then you'll be able to help kind of deal with that one, right? That's the same thing with adaptability. Being able to regularly review what you've been doing as far as keeping track of your targets, what your stuff is, what man, it's tough when I didn't do the other slides. So what your actual what your marks are to make it for these targets. But if we're constantly reviewing them, we're honest with them, we can adapt and we can change and pivot as need to. Accountability is the biggest thing. And this is something you can do with a team leader or people in your team, spouse, whatever. Having somebody that actually knows what you're trying to do. Maybe not necessarily end goals. You can share whatever you're comfortable with, but knowing that you've got these 5 things to do each day. If they check in with you or somebody checks in with you and said, hey, did you get these? Did you get your 5 things done? Or how's this going? Having somebody that knows what you're doing so you can get to that, it is a huge thing. As we're setting up these, was somebody going to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say we talked about maybe doing a quick like check-in on our team calls too with this. Like maybe by the end of the call we could come up with a goal if everybody has one. And then maybe on our team calls moving forward we could do a quick check-in.
Sure. So setting the acronym for SMART goal is a specific goal, a measurable goal, making sure it's achievable and it's relevant to your end target, right? And then the biggest thing with goals is making sure that they're time bound. So having that end date and knowing when it is to keep that sense of urgency going on keeps you focused and helps you have that clarity to keep going, right? So with that, then we kind of run into a daily and a weekly execution structure. You'll see that here in a few minutes. But the key thing to remember is greatness is built on small daily actions, right? Everybody looks to see the diamonds and all that kind of stuff in this industry, but nobody looks at all of the stuff they did to get themselves there. Or they focus that they brought a huge team over from another company, but they don't see how they built that team at the other company, right? So it's all done with small daily actions. The biggest thing to overcoming the motivational dips that you guys are going through is getting that momentum. And when you get momentum, like some of you are getting, making sure you run with it. The quickest way to get there is with small wins, making small wins. Hey, I got my 5 things done this day. That's a win. Go celebrate. You know, sit down, take time to yourself, take a bath, whatever you do that you don't do daily, that can be a luxury. That's something great for small wins. Having the accountability partner. Self-reward kind of goes into that small wins, making sure they're kind of pushed towards you and your achievements, not the end goals or other people. And again, we've kind of been through the accountability buddy thing. So this is the 12-week plan, right? So it's 4 steps. The first step is the planning step. We need to make sure that we're setting clear goals. We're not talking vague wish lists like I want to grow my account or something like that. We need to get in specific with these in this situation. Stuff like I want to increase engagement by 15% over the next 12 weeks, right? And then another one you could do is something like I want to have 3 high quality videos that go out a week. Something like that, right? Because these are the goals that are going to get you towards that North Star. And we need to make sure that they're clear. And then the next step to that after we get those goals set is we have to define the high impact actions that are going to get you to those goals. So going back to like the driving engagement one, what actions matter most, right? And it's not necessarily just posting more, but it's saying something like, I've talked to a lot of people about it, is responding to every direct message within 24 hours, going live X amount of times a week, going and talking to your followers instead of just letting them sit there. How many of those are you going to talk to a day? Those are the actions and the clarity that you need to keep things laser focused so that you can move forward on these targets and your goals. And that is the foundation of the 12-week plan, is those actions and making sure that they're clear enough that you can follow them day in and day out. Once we get those, our next step is the action, right? So you've got the first couple of weeks to kind of get yourself figured out what you can and can't do, and get those weekly tasks. You're going to have a lot of things you think you can do, and you're going to quickly find out there's a lot of stuff that you won't be able to get to. So adjusting to what you need to do versus what you think you need to do, and seeing what's bringing in the actions and changing that stuff is the biggest thing. So, and that's part of why we break this down into weekly commitments, is so that we can start to see what we first think. And then as we go, we start to gain momentum. We start to grow from there. If you notice the first couple of weeks, that's one bracket that you just have a little bit going on because you're trying to get set in. Week 3 and 4, we're starting to implement those actions and track all of the early progress to them. 5 through 8, now we're at a 3-week interval. So we're starting to gain that momentum and stay focused and make sure that we're driving for those goals. And then the last 3 weeks are where we're really going to complete the actions and review what we did and make sure that we are getting there. Or if we're not, what do we need to change? So that's kind of the basic weekly milestones. The weekly tasks are sacred. There's no excuses, no pushing off things this week, because each week is precious. We only have so much time, and they're going to continue to build. So if you just sit there and say, I'll get that next week, you're going to lose that momentum. You're going to lose that time. And now you're going to be stacked for more and more stuff. So for the focus on this, ask yourself daily, what's one action I can take today that'll make everything else easier or unnecessary? There's a whole book on that one called The One by, what's his name? The Keller real estate guy. So that also pushes towards the mindset of driving your execution and keeping the momentum high, right? We want to make sure we're cutting out stuff that's not directly impacting our goal, because again, our time is precious. These action items to complete for these milestones should be non-negotiables in your daily life, right? Every week, every day, you need to take these specific actions aligned with your goals, no matter what. If your goal is to reach or commit 50 new followers daily, what do we need to do to get to that, right? So this can be something that's a simple thing, like 50 new followers daily, but how do we get back? Each day we go and we do these specific things and we see how many followers they go. As they keep going, you're going to start to gain more and more momentum towards it. At the end of the day, you'll have to figure out as you track these what you're doing, and we'll create a self-scoring system. So every day you're going to score yourself based on your execution. Again, if you've got 10 tasks lined up, then you're going to have, and you only complete 8, you were working at 80% that day, right? So there's no shortcuts towards it. This score tells you whether you're stepping up or you're slipping up. And the numbers aren't going to lie. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a numbers person. Everything you can find and track through is through your numbers. If your score is low this week, then you look and see what can I do next week to bring that score up. Once that score starts coming up, you'll start to get that momentum back. These measurements are a feedback loop for you. They kind of tell you, they're your scorecard. It tells you what's working, and if you're not getting 100%, if you're doing 100% of your tasks every day and you're not getting the results you're looking for, then it tells you that you need to turn around and pivot. So whatever those tasks are not the best things for you to be producing those results at the moment. So at that point, we can pivot. You can change your tasks quickly instead of just continuing to do the same thing over and over and over and wonder why it's not working. And you know it's the task, not your consistency. The biggest part of this is going to be the time blocking. A lot of people don't have set time blocks in your schedule where you do stuff. You'll pick up, I got some free time now between picking up the kids, so I'm going to go look at engagements, or I've got time now, I'm going to make a story real quick. If you time block your schedule and track the routine you have and all of that, you can build 1 hour blocks that engage with followers. Your mindset, your energy, your motivation, all of that is going to be dedicated to that. You don't have the sidebars of, oh, this came up. Now I've got distracted with that. You've got laser focus on that one thing. So you want to schedule blocks like this. Maybe you have like a 3-hour block whenever you're most creative that you use to write your content only, and you focus nothing on content. And that's your content for, maybe it's this day, maybe you've got enough for today, tomorrow, so you're working on the next day. That way you keep building the content, and you keep setting and setting that time and guarding it. So that's your creation time. Because as you get busy, you're going to notice if you don't protect those times, you're going to let stuff slip in, and you're going to start to slip over and over. Again, you'll have a score. You can create a scorecard for this end of week review, see how many days you hit, see where it is, celebrate what went right, analyze what didn't, commit to adjusting whatever you need to adjust next week, And then when you keep this your weekly scorecard, that'll give you your roadmap for improvement so that you can see what's working, what's not, and adjust, and where you had to adjust as you continue to build. So maybe it took you 3 weeks to get, and all of a sudden you get a ton of followers. You can see when you go back and look, what were you consistent with? Because that's what's bringing in the followers at that point. This is where it gets super powerful, because we're not waiting to the end of 12 weeks to analyze whether we're going to reach our goal or what we didn't. We do it on a weekly basis, so we stay up to date and stay on top of it. Like I said, if you notice your audience engages with a certain type of post more, because this is the type of post you did this week, then you can double down on that post for the next few weeks, right? And watch what your engagement does, versus I run all of this and then we don't know what worked, what didn't work. So when we track that stuff, you're keeping an eye on it, you're keeping up to date with it. And like I say, you know exactly what is working in the moment. And then relentless replication of that is key. Accountability is the next one, right? This whole system's built on ownership. It's about saying, I do not execute. If I don't execute, it's on me. Self-scoring makes this personal. So again, it's about not letting your outside influences dictate what you got through. If you had a bad day, this helps you turn around and say, this is what I need to do. Pick yourself up, do what you got to do, hit these tasks, right? And again, this is where an accountability partner comes in. Finding someone who's going to challenge you, who you know is going to check in with you and support you, will make all the difference through this journey. The biggest thing, like I say, execution and consistency. Consistency is the one thing that will change your life whichever way it goes. You can choose to be consistent in staying consistent and doing what you need to do, or you can be consistent in not having a plan, not doing whatever, and just dealing with life as it comes to you. Execution will transform your visions into a reality, and then creating a daily structure shifts you from a hobbyist at just about anything you do towards a professional. If you look at professional athletes or sports, right? What do? They don't focus on anything else other than their sport from the time that they're in high school until they make it in whatever profession, right? At that point, then you see them start to venture out into other businesses to build more from that. But their focus from that is nothing but that sport until they make the pros. Again, the big key to execution is time blocking. A lot of people don't do this because they don't structure their weeks. They don't know what their week holds. They claim they don't know what their week holds. They don't know what they're missing, and they let life come to them. When you structure stuff, that's when you start to separate yourself from everybody else. And that's the level of commitment that will separate you from most other people. Protecting your time, as we've said, is the key thing here. So the path to execution: plan, act, measure, and adjust. Does anybody have questions? I know we kind of went all over the place with our interim emergency.
What is the benefit of going live if you don't have a large following?
The benefit of going live gives you the experience of talking in front of a camera versus hiding behind text and pictures. It also helps you gain that comfortness of being able to talk about whatever you're talking about, right? So it's it's part of telling your story and allowing you to gain that confidence to talk about whatever comes up at that moment. And it gives the people that you're trying to attract a chance to see you and the real you, because you're not going to be perfect. You know, your photos, when you make your reels with photos and text, you have time to edit them. You have time to sit down and pick and choose the best ones, right? When you go live, you show your reel, you show everything, all your emotions, everything at that moment. So it gives the people that opportunity to connect with the real you, not pictures, not any of the pre-made content. So it's just a way of gaining trust faster and letting people connect emotionally.
Does anybody have any goals in mind? Like, what do you think would be if this was you, John, and in 12 weeks you were trying to get to silver, what would what would an example be of your goals, do you think? Everybody write it down quick.
Well, that's kind of on going into the next slide, right? So there's been a lot of talk of I've overheard through the group of trying to find your niche, and it's niche. It doesn't become niche until it's worth over $1 million, according to one of my mentors.
It's neat.
Only if it's over $1 million. But again, this goes back into, so I would share personal stories daily. I would make sure that I provide value. I would find out as much of my following as I knew about. I'd be reaching out, I'd be talking to them, I'd be looking kind of at what their lives are and finding those trends, and that's what I would be directing content to. I would be engaging with all of my followers, which we're starting to do at that level. And then I would also engage with my brand builders, because getting to silver is where it starts to require a team, right? It starts to work on leadership stuff. You need to be able to motivate your brand builders to get them to that $1,000 threshold. Once that starts to happen, that's when that jump from bronze to silver is super easy, because you got to build those two people to 1,000, which is the 2,000 gap between bronze and silver. So that's kind of where I would start to shift my leadership, my mindset towards leadership, and I would work on gaining a bigger following and an authentic following, so I could find out where I'm going to continue to target as I'm growing. And that might look like the weekly priorities would be something like posting twice a day, right? I'm in a group that, for me to talk in my meetings and ask questions, I have to have 3 live stories on Instagram within 24 hours. I have to have X amount of water consumption. I have 45 minutes of physical activity every day. Those are 3 of the 5 non-negotiables we have to even talk in that meeting. So if we're not completing those things, then I'm not able to ask my questions, get my questions answered. So those would be 3 of mine for that specific situation. Figuring out how many followers a day I need to engage with. How many do I have time for? If I start at 20, then I know each week or each day I got to talk to 20 people or introduce myself to 20 of my followers. How many did I get to this week? Well, on the average, I got to 12. So if that's my average, I'm going to say next week, my new standard is I got to get 15 people, because I want to grow and I want to push myself. So now that's part of that review and adjust. So now I know 12, I wanted 20, that's not possible with my time allotment. So 15 I can make work because I got 12, I'm gonna add to it. The biggest one that might help you, it might not, is look at your followers and see if you have people doing stuff in that and do some cross promotions, reach out to them and say, hey, I see you do this, that's great. Maybe we could get together and talk about that, or have a chat with them about what they do, because then they're going to naturally turn around and come back and ask you what you do, or start taking interest into you. So I would try and have a couple of those a week. And then I would set a specific time each week where I have my accountability check-in. And that person I'm checking in with knows that if they don't hear from me by this time, I need them to reach out to me, because if I didn't reach out to them, they probably got to set me straight. Anybody got anything else?
So I think one of my biggest takeaways from this call has been, like, I've been treating this kind of like as like a side gig, as a hobby, because I have a job and I love my job. So I don't like need or want this to replace my job, but I also do want this to be a business of mine. And so I think one of my biggest takeaways is that if I want it to be a business, then I can't treat it like a hobby. And so, like, I have to start collecting data, and I have to start getting more organized and stuff like that, because any like good business owner would be doing that kind of stuff. And then if I'm not, and I'm not seeing the results I want, then that's like red flag number one, right?
For sure. But the biggest thing about it too is when you start to break stuff down small like this, again, it gives you that chance to, at a small scale, look what's working for you and what's not. And it gives you that time to quickly adjust that versus, oh, I think I need to do this. Let me do this inconsistently for the next 3 months, and then I'll figure out why I'm not getting anywhere, right? Making that commitment to do something in a short time frame gives you, and keeping track of it gives you that quick, instant, this works, this doesn't. And then as you can start to see that stuff, again, you're probably not going to see anything for the first few weeks because it takes a while to get that momentum rolling. But if you're still not seeing anything and you're 100% consistent with everything you're supposed to be doing, then he gives you that key indicator to look back and say, okay, this isn't working. I need to pivot to something else. And by doing stuff like that, that allows you to do both things, the job you love and like, and the life you have, as well as this backup source of income, and not have one overpower the other or take more time than the other because you're super narrow, you're super targeted with what you're doing in the free time that you have.
Are we okay to share these slides in the Facebook group? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'll share that in the recording if anybody needs to go over it again, but I mean the slides are super clear, so they'd be good to look at. Hi, Alicia. The silver.
Um, yeah, and like I say, this is a super high level overview of it because you can really dive into this stuff and there's a lot of resources in the book that give you a lot of like the scorecards and stuff like that that I don't really have created or the need to recreate them because I have ones that work specifically for me. And I'm starting to notice that what works for me doesn't necessarily work for the majority of the group, but there's definitely key things that if people want more support, you can reach out to me and I'm more than happy to help you get that stuff. But I highly suggest the book itself because then you have the manual for it right there.
You have a link you can share in the group or chat.
I can get one, just give me a sec. Actually use Amazon for what it was intended for.
So, Gloria, I mean, even committing to time blocking, in my opinion, is a good goal because if you time block, you'll be successful. But I do have a list of income producing activities, and you could pick the ones. I'll go get them and I'll put them in the chat. And then I would time block, one of those activities. So sometimes, like one of my time blocks for this month is this week, connect with followers. So I have a 15-minute time block to go connect with as many followers as I possibly can in that 15 minutes. And then I'll keep track of who it is. Maybe.
I would set your time blocks to start at more than a 15-minute interval. I understand with life that gets kind of tough, but when you give yourself 15 minutes to get started, it's going to take you a little bit to get your mindset into that, get everything gathered up to be in that space and all of that. So by the time you do most of that, now you're down to like 5 minutes, right? I definitely, when I track my time and what I'm doing, I run in 15-minute intervals. Actually, I run in 25 now. I have a timer that I set to 25 minutes when I'm at my desk, and every 25 minutes, I get up and do something new. I take a 5-minute break, get up, walk around, and then I go to a new task. We did. Bethany wants to make sure that everybody knows Alicia got silver. Congrats.
Well, Alicia wasn't on the call when we were announcing that you got
Oh,
silver.
really?
I don't
Well,
think
that's
you were
what
here
you get
yet.
for coming late.
You missed the recognition.
Yeah, sorry. I was coming from another meeting and I was like, oh my gosh, it's on right now. So I wanted to come on. But yeah, thank you, Bethany. Thank you guys. You guys are super helpful with everything.
But yeah, I would try and set longer time blocks to start. And then as you figure out what you need to do, then you can kind of get it. One of the hacks I use is I have a Google Calendar and I'll block those sections out. And then in the notes, I have a list of all the resources that I need to do that task so that I can just go to the calendar. Everything I need is there. I don't have to try and think. I don't have I don't have that, oh, I start and then realize I forgot this one thing, and then I lose my entire block because I gotta go find that one thing. If that makes sense to people, if you understand how Google Calendar works, you have that description or section, or you can create notes to attach to those things.
All right, does anybody have any questions before we take off here? Awesome, Olivia. I look forward to hearing your goal and all right, everybody have a really good night. Thank you so much, John, for all that. That's awesome. Oh, did we get the link for the book? Did everybody get that? I'll copy it. I'll put it in the group. Okay. Have a good
Screenshot
night.
for Bethany, Nicole.
Oh, yes, thank you. Everybody smile. John. John's used to it. Okay, thank you. Oh, Heidi, you're on here. Okay, smile one more time. There we go. Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Nicole.
You bet. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. I think you said there was gonna be a replay on this, right? Or recorded. It's
She did record it, yes.
okay. Awesome. Thanks.
All
Yeah.
right. Congrats again.
Thank you.
Have a good night.